Hello and welcome to our demonstration on what's going on with going from a corporate office to a home office quarantine transition. This thing is happening very quickly, and we wanted to point out what the threats are when considering going from your corporate office to your home network. So the first thing is that home machines are not protected with proper commercial grade softwares. So at corporate networks, we are all geared up to defend against all the forces of evil out there on the internet, and we protect the corporate network. And currently, there are probably a lot of machines out there on home networks that may not even have antivirus. And so some of the home machines may have existing issues or even existing malware, existing viruses on them. So using these machines without protection could be a serious security risk, and the bad guys on the internet could use this to traverse into the corporate network. Another thing that we have running against us and the threat is that not a lot of time has been given out to plan this out. So, we kind of all got shushed into our homes fairly quickly, and not a lot of time was given to plan this out. So that's kind of a threat in that, if we had a little bit more time, we could have done it a little bit more strategically. So effectively, the playing field in IT across America and across the world, for that matter, changed within 2 weeks, and especially from a security standpoint. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to react to this and make sure that we are as protected as we could be. Another thing that is working against us from a threat standpoint is home networks are not protected with commercial grade equipment, i.e. firewalls and or wireless access points, meaning bad guys can utilize these weaker vulnerabilities to traverse into the home network, then in turn traverse into the corporate network. And what we're recommending clients do is gear up on the security side of things just to make sure that we're doing everything we can to secure the corporate data. And the other threat that is very big, and I can't enunciate this enough, and that is not having multi-factor authentication and other softwares protecting the corporate network. It's more important than ever that we protect the company data so that we don't have these weak links. Now that we're all at our homes, we don't have weak links that are going to hurt the corporate data. So how do we protect? So our first level of protection is the basic antivirus and anti-malware. This is basic first level of protection, right? So we happen to use Sophos. Sophos is a very good commercial grade software. So we are recommending that every machine have Sophos at a very minimum, that we ensure that we are doing our best from an antivirus and anti-malware perspective to protect all machines. And we must, at this point, take an account for all machines to ensure that they are all protected utilizing Sophos antivirus. Number two way to protect is just to make sure that the data is backed up in an immutable location. So what that means is that someone's not going to be able to go into your corporate network and then put a flag in the ground and block access to all things such as a NAS device, such as all of your corporate data, and then go ahead and ransomware all the data and have us try and insert Bitcoin to try and get our data back. The idea is that we want to take the data off site to an immutable location, meaning even if they did get into the corporate network, it wouldn't matter. It would suck that they got our data, but at least we could recreate that data because it's at an immutable location. So backup is more important than ever, and not only backup, and that is backup off-site that no bad guys can get to. The next important thing worthy of mentioning is managing our passwords. And where are we storing these passwords? How are we entering these passwords in? Who's looking at these passwords? It's going to be really important that we consider managing our passwords way more strategically than we ever have. And that's by utilizing some kind of software that will make it so that these passwords are encrypted. These passwords are not accessible through just snatching up your web browser. We've all been on our web browsers and we've seen it where it says Chrome would like you to memorize this password. Well, that's great, but and handy and it helps, a lot of times, but is it safe? Question mark. The answer is no, because what we can do is you can always go into the settings of your web browser, retrieve all those passwords. So if a bad person gets a hold of your system, all those passwords could possibly be uploaded to the dark web. So one thing that we definitely want to do is start managing passwords a lot better than our current password situation. The second, not second thing, our next thing on the list is our Sophos MTR. So what does MTR stand for? It's Managed Threat Response. So who is watching our network and the important machines? Question mark. So while Crown Computers engineers are busy doing service requests from clients, and we're, solving issues, creating these solutions, we don't have the resources that Sophos has to go ahead and watch all the traffic, look at different things such as anomalies in traffic, look for bad executables or bad services that are running, stop those services on the fly as we're sitting there watching them. We don't really have our finger on the pulse. No managed IT firm could do this. The only way you could do this is if you had a network operations center, which had many people watching many screens looking for these types of anomalies. So we're leveraging Sophos's power to go ahead and watch out for these types of anomalies and watch out for strange things happening in your network. It's really important that we consider adding these extra levels of protection, because if we don't, and we won't really know if something weird is going on, and we won't be able to tell from an anomaly perspective and raise a flag. So we rely upon our Sophos Managed Threat Response to give us that higher level response on critical machines. Another point is multi-factor authentication, and this is huge because multi-factor authentication allows us, so that we just don't rely upon usernames and passwords. And we're saying here that, just relying upon usernames and passwords, those days are gone. And what I mean by that is that when you log into your bank, for example, sometimes it'll ask you, hey, we just sent a code to your cell phone. And then you have to reach out to your cell phone and read the code and then type it in, and then you're in. Why does the bank do that? Well, because the bank knows that bad guys can get into your computer and easily retrieve your username and password. And then they're going to have access to all your bank accounts, and then they'll just transfer money wherever they want. So, or do things that, are not good, at least. So the point is that we don't want to just rely upon usernames and passwords anymore. Those days are gone, and it's just a whole money-making opportunity business for these bad guys to collect usernames and passwords, sell them on the dark web, and then those people buy the usernames and passwords, and then they try and hack into systems, and then they'll go ahead and try and develop ransomware and set up a beachhead on a corporate network, and then they will ask for Bitcoin and trade for their corporate data, hoping that you don't have backups. So going ahead and implementing multi-factor authentication right now is way more critical than ever. Another important aspect of protecting your network is considering implementing something like Threat Locker. Now, ThreatLocker does exe blocking, extra levels of defense that block all unknown exes and scripts and shell commands. So it's one thing to be protected by your antivirus. Antivirus uses something called heuristics. And basically, these are best guesses at what a virus acts like, does, smells like, different virus signatures that are known out in the world. So Sophos Antivirus is constantly collecting a database of viruses, and it does an excellent job at doing this, as well as anti-malware. So why are we asking that people consider ThreatLocker, for example? Well, ThreatLocker takes it above and beyond, and what it does is it makes it so that effectively you can't execute anything that isn't allowed. On top of that, it watches every single file, where it goes, and it keeps a complete history. So it's also good from an employment standpoint, you know who is downloading what and executing what at any given time. It just does this innately. You can type in a username, you can tell exactly what they've done at any given time. And then the last level of protection that I'd like to speak about is WebRoot. And this is protecting DNS. What is DNS? DNS is the thing that converts all the ones and zeros on the internet to names like Microsoft.com, Google.com. DNS stands for Domain Name Service, and that's all it basically does is translate all those IP addresses into URLs. So why protect DNS? Well, the thing is that we've all seen these emails that come in, and they look very tricky. They're very tricky to avoid. They look like the real thing, and we almost want to click on it. I myself have been almost tricked by a fake Apple. Oh, you're buying this new Apple app. What? I didn't buy that. And you click on it, and it's like, uh-oh, I just got tricked. So very convincing emails, very convincing websites. All of a sudden, you're typing in your username and your password, and then again, it's getting onto the dark web, and then people are trying to hack your account. All of a sudden, you have identity theft and all sorts of other stuff going on just because you got some email, you typed in your username and password in the wrong place, and now, it's kind of game over. So the only other portion that I'd like to speak about is coming back to firewalls and wireless access points. So it's kind of impractical that we go out and we replace all the firewalls in everyone's homes. However, it may not be a bad idea to consider, getting a different wireless access point that has some more level of security than your existing wireless access point that very may well be just given by the cable company or your internet provider at home. The risk here is someone driving around a neighborhood in a white van that has maybe 3 or 4 servers running, constantly scanning the neighborhood, looking for vulnerabilities in different access points. Once it finds a particular access point or type of router that it knows it can penetrate, it could sit there for a few minutes and then try and hack into the network and then snoop around to see if there's any way that it could be, the traffic on the network could be sniffed out. Maybe they're going to try and sniff out a password. Maybe they're going to try and sniff out a voice over IP conversation. You could do a multitude of things. And the idea is that for homes, maybe that have executives or maybe homes that need better wireless anyway, let's get something a little bit more commercial grade in there. And so thank you so much for listening to our presentation on from corporate office to home office quarantine transition. I hope you enjoyed it. And, again, the idea is that we're trying to explain why we're selling these new services or advocating that these new services be implemented and we protect the corporate network is the goal. All right, thanks for listening and stay safe out there.